It started as an ordinary school day. The bell rang, lockers slammed, and chatter filled the air like a familiar song. Students hurried to classes, teachers sipped their morning coffee, and the football field outside shimmered under the bright summer sun. Just another day, nothing special, nothing different. Or so they thought. What nobody knew was that this day, this seemingly normal morning, was about to turn into the greatest story the school had ever told. A story so unbelievable that students would whisper it in hallways for years to come. And at the heart of it all was one man. One name that needed no introduction. Cristiano Ronaldo. But wait, how does Ronaldo, a global football icon, end up in a school like this? Why is he here? And what's this big play that left everyone speechless? Well, to answer that, we need to rewind just a little. Because everything started with a simple mistake. The school had been planning a major football event for months. It was their annual sports day, the kind of day where bragging rights were on the line, where students trained for weeks just to show off their skills. The whole community was buzzing with excitement. And to make things even more thrilling, the principal had promised a special guest. Rumors flew like wildfire. Some said it was a famous coach. Others guessed it was a retired player from the national team. Nobody imagined, nobody that the man walking through their gates would be the living legend himself. But here's the twist. The school didn't actually invite Ronaldo. They meant to email a local player, someone who shared the same first name. A simple typo, a tiny slip of the keyboard, sent an invitation across the world. And Ronaldo being Ronaldo, read it. Now, most celebrities would laugh and move on. But not him. He didn't just read it. He accepted, quietly, no fanfare, no press release. Just a short reply. See you on game day. Fast forward to the present. The students were warming up on the pitch, waiting for their special guest. Coaches kept checking their phones nervously, hoping for a confirmation. And then, out of nowhere, a black SUV rolled up near the gates. The doors opened, and there he was. The man who's conquered Europe, who's broken records, who's lifted trophies most players only dream of. Cristiano Ronaldo, standing on a dusty school field, wearing a smile that said, "Let's play." Phones dropped. Mouths hung open. Teachers froze mid-sentence. The entire school stood still, as if time itself had taken a breath. Nobody knew what to say, what to do. Because this wasn't just a visit. No. This was about to become history. And what? Well, next, let's just say, the word legendary doesn't even come close. Before we dive into that, tell us, where are you watching from? And if you love stories that inspire, hit that subscribe button, because what Ronaldo does next, it's bigger than anything you've ever imagined. The local school was alive with a kind of energy you could feel in your bones. Today wasn't just any day. It was the day of the regional football championship. The air was thick with excitement as students draped themselves in school colors, faces painted, flags waving proudly in the stands. Even the teachers had given up on lessons, herding everyone toward the football field as if it were the main stage of history. This wasn't just about winning a trophy. This was about pride, about proving something, about showing that their little school could rise to the city occasion. But there was something else, something that had turned an already big day into something monumental. For weeks, posters had been plastered on every wall, every hallway, every door. Special guest appearance, Cristiano Ronaldo. Yes, that Ronaldo, the legend, the name that made kids dream bigger than the sky. He had promised to come, promised to stand on this very field. And for these kids who had practiced on uneven grounds, with old boots and torn nets, it wasn't just about a football match anymore. It was about magic. about meeting the man they idolized, about shaking hands with greatness. But as the clock ticked closer to kickoff, that magic started slipping away. The whispers began, first quietly, then louder, spreading like wildfire through the crowd. Is he coming? Maybe he canceled. Figures, big stars never show up. Some kids tried to laugh it off. Others, well, you could see it in their eyes, that sinking feeling of disappointment, like watching a balloon float out of reach. Meanwhile, down on the field, the school team stood in a tight huddle. They weren't just nervous, they were terrified. Their opponent today, the toughest academy in the region. Bigger kids, stronger kids. Players who trained on perfect pitches with professional coaches. Compared to them, this little school team looked like a bunch of underdogs tossed into a lion's den. The captain glanced at the scoreboard. Still zeros, still time. But if Ronaldo didn't show up soon, the energy, the belief, everything. They had been holding on to it vanished. The stands roared as the opposing team jogged out, looking every bit like champions already. Their jerseys gleamed. Their boots shone. Confidence radiated from them like sunlight. And just as the doubts grew louder, just as hope began to crumble, something strange happened. In the far corner of the stands, a man sat quietly. No VIP section, no flashing cameras. Just a simple black hoodie pulled over his head. No security, no entourage, nothing to make him stand out. No one paid attention to him. Why would they? He looked like just another parent, another spectator waiting for the game to start. But he wasn't. Because under that hoodie was the man everyone was waiting for. Cristiano Ronaldo. And no one had the slightest clue what was about to happen next. The whistle blew. The game was on. But from the very first minute, it was clear this wasn't going to be easy. The opposing academy played like warriors. Fast passes, aggressive tackles, precision strikes. And then, the first goal. Boom. Top. Corner. 1-0. The crowd went silent. You could almost hear the heartbreak ripple through the stands. Teachers exchanged worried glances. Kids bit their nails. And before anyone could recover another goal. 2-0. Now, it wasn't just a game anymore. It was an embarrassment. The school team looked broken. Shoulders slumped, heads down. Some players were already blinking back tears. You could see it on their faces. We've already lost. Whispers filled the stadium. Where is Ronaldo? Guess. He's not coming. Figures. Big stars never keep promises. And then, something strange. Something no one expected. The man in the black hoodie, the one sitting quietly in the corner, stood up. Slowly. Calmly. He walked down the steps, hands in his pockets, like he had all the time in the world. People barely noticed at first. Just another fan, right? But when he reached the field and the referee blew his whistle, telling him to leave, everything changed. Because that man pulled back his hood. And the stadium erupted. It was him. Cristiano. Freaking. Ronaldo. The sound was deafening. Kids screamed like they'd just won the lottery. Teachers scrambled for their phones. Even the opposing players, those big, confident academy boys, looked like statues, mouths hanging open. But Ronaldo? He didn't wave. He didn't smile for selfies. He didn't do any of the things celebrities do. He walked straight to the bench. The coach was frozen, like someone had just unplugged his brain. Ronaldo leaned in, voice calm but sharp enough to cut through the chaos. "Coach," he said, "let me play." The coach stammered. But this is a school match. We can't, there are rules." And Ronaldo put a hand on his shoulder. Firm, steady, uncheckable. "Sometimes," Ronaldo said, locking eyes with him, "kids need hope more than rules." Silence. Then, without waiting for an answer, Ronaldo pulled off his hoodie. Underneath, the legendary jersey gleamed like armor. He tightened the laces on his boots. Yes, he was ready. The referee didn't even argue. Because how could he? This wasn't just any player. This was a man who turned impossible into routine. And as Ronaldo stepped onto that dusty school field, every kid in the stands felt the same thing. Something incredible is about to happen. The referee hesitated, then nodded. The opposing team laughed. What's he gonna do? This is a school match, old man. One player shouted. Ronaldo just smiled. That smile. The one that said everything was about to change. The whistle blew. The ball rolled. And in the next 5 minutes, the world remembered why Cristiano Ronaldo is a living legend. His first touch goal. From 30 yards out. No warm-up. No hesitation. Just a rocket into the top corner. The net rippled. The stadium erupted. Students leapt from their seats, voices cracking as they screamed his name. Teachers, usually calm and composed, were jumping. Like kids. The score was now 2-1, and the energy shifted. Second goal, a bicycle kick so perfect it looked like a movie stunt. The ball soared, the crowd gasped, and then boomed back of the net. Even the opposing fans couldn't help but clap. Phones were everywhere, capturing history. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, they were all about to blow up, but Ronaldo wasn't. Done. Third goal, a header so powerful, it felt like thunder hit the field. He rose above everyone, hanging in the air like time had frozen, and slammed it in 3-2. In just minutes, the impossible comeback was alive. The students lost their minds. Some were crying. Some were hugging each other like they'd just won the lottery. The teachers, speechless, and yet, it wasn't just the goals. It was what Ronaldo said after every play. To the kids on his team. Run like you believe. Pass like you own the moment. Don't look at the score, look at me. Every word hit them like fuel. You could see it in their eyes. The fire, the belief, the refusal to give up. These weren't just kids anymore. They were warriors. Other team? Suddenly nervous. Their arrogance faded. They weren't laughing now. They were chasing shadows, trying to stop a man who seemed untouchable. And Ronaldo? He didn't just score. He passed. He assisted. He celebrated every kid's play like it was the winning goal of a World Cup final. The clock ticked down. The roar of the crowd never stopped. Something magical was happening, and everyone knew they were witnessing a story they'd tell their grandchildren one day. This wasn't just football anymore. This was hope. This was proof that one person, one legend, could walk into an ordinary day and turn it into history. And deep down, every single person in that stadium understood something powerful. Greatness isn't just about talent. It's about lifting others when they need it most. Ethan froze. The noise of the cafe faded into silence, like someone had turned the volume down on the world. His chest tightened, his heart pounding so loud it drowned out every thought in his head. The man I laughed at, the man I mocked. Images flashed in his mind, the way he had smirked at the old man's worn-out shoes, the way he had judged him for drinking plain water, the way he had whispered to his friends, probably broke. And now, this? The manager's words still echoed in the air. Henry Thompson, the man who built shelters that house over 10,000 homeless people. Ethan swallowed hard, but his throat felt like sandpaper. His friends, the same ones who had been laughing along with him minutes ago, stared in stunned silence. Phones that were once out to take selfies now hung loosely in their hands. Henry didn't look angry. He didn't even look disappointed. His eyes, calm, gentle, almost too forgiving, met Ethan's. And in that look, Ethan saw something that burned deeper than shame. He saw Grace. Henry spoke softly, his voice carrying the weight of a lifetime of battles fought for others. Son, true success isn't about what you wear, drink, or show off. It's about what you give. The words cut through Ethan like glass, because deep down, he knew he had been chasing the opposite. Expensive sneakers, designer jackets, flashy watches, all for approval, all to look important. And yet here was a man wearing old shoes and a faded hoodie, who had done more for the world than Ethan could even imagine. The cafe was silent now. Everyone was listening, even strangers at other tables. Henry leaned forward, resting his hands on the table, and continued, "When I was your age, I thought like you. Thought success was a car, a big house, a name people knew. But then I met people with nothing. Families sleeping on sidewalks in the winter. Kids who didn't know what a warm meal felt like. That day, I made a choice to build, not for myself, but for them." Ethan blinked fast, trying to stop the sting in his eyes, but it was no use. A tear slipped down his cheek before he could wipe it away. Henry smiled gently. "You're young. You've got time to decide what kind of man you'll be. Will you live for yourself, or for something bigger?" Ethan couldn't speak. His voice was gone, buried under the weight of everything he had just learned. All he could do was nod slow, trembling, honest dot, and for the first time in his life, Ethan understood what real greatness looked like. Later, the reporters swarmed him. Microphones everywhere, cameras flashing like lightning in a storm. One question cut through the noise. "Ronaldo, why did you do it? Why play in a school match when you could have been anywhere else in the world?" He didn't hesitate, just smiled that calm, legendary smile, and said, "Because I remember what it's like to dream." And dreams, they need someone to believe in them first. The room fell silent. Those words weren't just an answer. They were a truth every single person there felt in their bones. The students, they would never forget that day. The teachers, they told the story for years, long after the grass on that field had grown and been cut 100 times. And that little boy, the one who handed him the armband, he never let it go. Not as a trophy, not as some autograph. He kept it as a reminder, a symbol, because that day he learned something no classroom had ever taught him. That greatness isn't about medals, stadiums, or money. It's about moments. Moments where you choose to show up when it matters most. Years later, when that boy walked onto a field of his own wearing his country's colors, the world watching, he touched that old armband, whispered a name, and smiled. Because he knew this. Sometimes one person believing in you can change everything. So the next time life tells you you're too small, too weak, or too late, remember this moment. Remember the man who could have said no, who could have stayed silent, but instead gave everything he had for a bunch of kids who needed hope. Because in life, sometimes, all it takes is one big play. And maybe, just maybe, that play is yours. If this story inspired you, don't stop here. Click on the screen and watch more powerful stories that will remind you, legends aren't born, they're made, one choice at a time.